Welcome back to another episode of CaCo Talks. Recently, we've been seeing a string of individuals acting out racist rage and self-hatred in bizarre public ways. From Kanye to the racist University of Kentucky student, how do we respond as a society? Tonight, we're discussing self-hate, especially among Black men, and how it can literally destroy one's life. Let's get into this discussion. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of CaCo Talks. We're glad to be back on our semi-regularly scheduled programming, our specifically holiday content. We've been doing birthday stuff and Halloween and Christmas and everything coming up, but we got a couple of regular episodes, for the next few weeks coming. So, but as you can tell by the title, tonight we are discussing just some of the kind of crazy racist self-hatred antics we've been seeing in the media recently. We started not to discuss Kanye because, he don't need another platform, okay? Because why?
The long dreaded conversation again.
Right? There's so many think pieces about Kanye, New York Times. We got the Chicago Defender. All these things really talking about Kanye and So what else could we contribute to the conversation?
Seriously.
But we saw that there were so many other antics, happening. So we're like, let's just throw Kanye in, jump off the discussion with him because I feel like
it relates.
It relates, yeah.
That's the only reason why he's getting seconds of our time.
Yeah, exactly. Because remember, we already did an episode about him and Will Smith way back in spring, and that was wild.
And here he goes again.
Yeah.
Not failing us, not once.
No, never.
He gives us something to talk about, I guess.
I guess so. I guess that's it feels like antics at this point, doesn't it? It feels like he wants to be subject of this kind of discussion. And
it's getting mental health, period.
Yeah, which is something we'll probably get into later is this mental health or is this just ignorance? What is it?
I don't think he knows, so
I don't think anybody knows. But all right. So in case you haven't heard, Kanye has pretty much officially been canceled at this point because of the anti-Semitic comments he's made. I believe it's on Twitter, as well as obviously the anti-Black statements he made at a Paris fashion show where his brand Yeezy, he had a couple of models himself, and I think Candace Owens, who was another what's the female version of an Uncle Tom?
Ooh, child, you chose
Aunt Tamisha. Not Uncle Tom, Aunt Tamisha.
Oh my gosh, that was violent.
Seriously.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
Well, to be honest,
that's what she is.
That's what she is.
I'm gonna
be honest with you. Any Black person who works seriously with Fox News is probably some form
a problem. Period. A problem.
The stuff that I hear on Fox News, I'm like, they are just making information up and spreading it.
Yeah, anybody that's they look to Fox News as their end all be all of information. That's a serious problem, period. So.
Yes, it's so skewed. It's so skewed. The stuff they say, I was like...
Beyond the skew, it is biased, and it is only looked at from one point of view, so...
And but the point of view is warped. It's not even
yeah, exactly.
It's not even I hate to say
it's
it.
Bad.
I don't even know if it's a legitimate, point of view, because I could respect something that just... felt factual or whatever, but I'm a lot of stuff they spew is just this deeply right-wing conservative, I don't even know if it's conservative, just right-wing, almost fascist type rhetoric.
For sure. Yeah. They don't put any I don't think they really research these things. It's literally they just went to a Fox News little side website and got all their information. No type of
it's
nothing.
QAnon. It's this underground group of people who are just believing that. I don't know. It's
it's bad. It's just bad.
But
real bad.
So anybody Black who's calling themselves a journalist and doing that, I don't think you can really, it's giving Uncle Tom straight up, period, point blank.
For sure.
Gonna be real. But speaking of Uncle Toms, we got Kanye.
Who our fave.
Sort of made himself a
mockery.
And so let's get a little bit into the details of kind of what he the stuff he's doing. So like we said, he did some anti-Semitic tweets. Oh no, this article, you gotta pay for it. The New York Times is even making.
Oh wow, that's a ripoff.
Anyways, okay. Let me get a different article.
Guess it wasn't meant to be.
Right.
It's Kanye, so who cares?
Exactly. But I mean, okay, let's just talk about the fact that he put White Lives Matter on a t-shirt and proudly displayed that. What do you think about that? I guess I don't know.
So here's two things. So part of me was like very not concerned because I was like, it's Kanye. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong. I think I believe in the Black Lives Matter movement, and I do agree that all lives matter. But here's the thing: Black Lives Matter does not mean no one else's lives matter. It doesn't mean that white lives don't matter. It doesn't mean that any other racial group or ethnic group does not matter. You know. So for especially Kanye, who is an African American man who you would think understands the plight of being an African American, for him not to understand that and wear a White Lives Matter shirt is odd to me. When it's your people and you who are being targeted. You see how quick they cancel Kanye?
Exactly.
And part of that is because you're also an African American man, my guy.
That's what I say.
I mean, I think it's also humbling for him because it's ironic that you were the one doing all that hoopla about White Lives Matter and, knocking out all of these things in support of African American movements. And look where you are, buddy.
Exactly. I'm like, honestly, when you stop making money, honestly, for these big white brands, that's when they kicked you out.
Exactly. When
so
I don't
understand that. Exactly. I'm like, so really for them, their interest in you was strictly
money,
financially based. So what?
Which is exploitative, and it's kind of like basketball and football and those sports. You know what I mean? They're just using you until they can't use you anymore. Period.
Exactly.
Now they're throwing you back out to the wolves.
Well, what I find interesting about this is like the way, journalists were discussing this after his Paris fashion show with the White Lives Matter. But the way he went on an attack against another Black woman because she dared to criticize him basically, which everybody was criticizing you at that point because why would you put White Lives Matter on a shirt?
Thank you.
And then he comes back at a Black woman and obviously with these sort of lame, just self-hatred or just throwing hatred at this journalist Black woman for really doing her job seriously. And I think she was at Vogue or something, so she obviously she's got a certain career going for herself that you talking
about the plus size lady?
Yeah, I forget what her name is. I want to say her name was Gabby or something like that. But she's an editor at Vogue or something, and she obviously was all right, we have to discuss Kanye because this is dangerous and destructive. It's not just jokes anymore. And he was attacking her for critiquing him when first off, she got every right to do so. She's a journalist, number one. But number two, you put some really controversial stuff out there, problematic stuff out there. Why would they not discuss it? And you put it in big, bold, white letters. You know what I'm saying? At Paris Fashion Week. So anyway.
Which, I mean, I think, Kanye's not dumb. I continue to say this. Kanye is not stupid. So you knew what you were wearing and you knew what that meant when you wore it. So you knew backlash. Especially at Paris Fashion Week. That's a hot ass topic, my guy. Come on.
And he's got a really popular brand. His brand is popular.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. But I just
tragic, to say the least.
I really think this is I mean, obviously the whole All Lives Matter and White Lives Matter thing was just this way of undercutting the severity and seriousness of saying Black Lives Matter in that movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's this like lame backlash way of like really diverting attention, which is what a lot of, honestly, I'm coming to determine, a lot of the old guard, that's their main method of, not even discussion, that's their main method of engaging with people who have opposite views, is to divert attention, take back attention, and not actually address the concern, because they have no factual evidence to like combat what you're saying. All they can do is really divert attention and make it about them, and which is what he did. He literally did that for white people, for the people who don't have that platform. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it kills me, because I'm like, what's the gain? What did you gain? The people that you are supporting by saying White Lives Matter, right, which is this underground movement of white backlash, right? This white supremacist, conservative, right-wing movement, right? Those aren't even your target base. Those aren't the people buying your stuff anyways.
Yeah.
So what, you gonna hitch up a trailer and go to South Carolina and sell Yeezys to like the people that's who he's pandering to? Because the people who,
and that's like you said, the very population who's buying his stuff is the one he was coming after.
He was alienating. Like, the people buying your stuff are the more liberal, quote, woke media people, the people in cities, the people who are fashion forward. You know, the red states, they buy stuff from Walmart. No shade to that, but like that's their fashion, okay?
Very
the
true.
People you trying to sell stuff to, people who would line up at Adidas or whatever, those are the people. Those are the Black and brown people. Those are the people. I'm like, you're alienating the people you got rich from. Like, I'm like, how do you, just business strategy wise, I want to know who's in his corner.
Smart.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I don't think it's people that are in his corner. He's just freaking ruthless. You know what I mean? He like just doesn't want to listen or take any type of like criticism or anything like that, or any advice really. So this is how you get where you are.
Well, okay, this is what this article says. It says, according to the American Psychological Association, people with bipolar disorder may experience extreme happiness, energy, and clarity to sadness, fatigue, and confusion. Because, everybody wants to say he's just bipolar, mental illness. However, the illness is not associated with a particular worldview or political affiliation. To attribute these spewings and demonstrations of mental illness contributes a false stigma about bipolarism. And that's true. It's not really about him being bipolar at this point. And I'm glad people have come to that conclusion, because his other antics, people were like, he's bipolar, he's mental.
So is that like confirmed he's bipolar?
I think it was confirmed that he does have bipolar. I thought it was confirmed a while ago, right?
Got it. Okay.
Like, even when he was with Kim K.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't know. So I just wanted to make sure.
But I think people were trying to say like, oh, the stuff he's saying is because he is bipolar, and that's false, because being bipolar doesn't make you have some sort of political ideology. You know what I mean? Bipolar is like moods, really like mood swings, and like periods of depression, periods of happiness and energy, which is medical. His stuff isn't, what he's saying isn't medical.
Yeah.
He's like spewing hatred, which is dangerous to conflate the two. Like, if someone's a hateful person, that they're somehow also like mentally ill, which has been actually something that I think a lot of conservative media has always pushed, is like, when we see the young guys shooting up schools, are like, well, so-and-so's just mentally ill. No, so-and-so was also just hatred. He also just was a hateful person, Yeah,
and don't be wrong, that's not to negate that like mental health is not a serious thing, or like to take it less serious because of X, Y, and Z, like Kanye, or like someone who's like a mass shooter. But I don't think that should be a crutch and or an excuse. Like, you have to be accountable, period. So even though you may be suffering from a mental health, you also had a choice in doing that. Like unless it was like a debilitating mental illness, which typically, if it's like debilitating, you don't even have the means to do something that crazy. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
no, this is like Kanye's warped personal philosophy on life. I don't know how he got to that point, but this is like his warped idea of life at this point.
Yeah.
Which is wild, because so much of his early work was about talking about these institutions that had kept him out of them, right? Like, he'd been talking about how Black people, I mean, like, what's that song? All Falls Down. That's a really good one. And I think
I saw something on social media the other day, and he literally all falls down. It was like a little like thing talking about how his like career has like fallen, and so it was the little clip was called All Falls Down. Now that he's back at square zero, so which I honestly feel like he kind of needs this because he needs to be humbled again. Like this man really thinks that he's untouchable, and while part of that is true, you are in a career where you are basically people pleasing. So, sir, please sit back. Please sit back and people please. You know what I mean? Like, you cannot be out here just saying whatever, whenever, and to whoever. That's just not how that works. So, you have to be accountable. And especially as a Black man in that industry, you've really not about to get away with nothing. So,
I think it's so interesting, and what seems to be Kanye's dilemmas, honestly, is he thinks he's white. He thinks he is, because of money and access and resources that he's been able to accrue over his life, which kudos to him, he thinks he can exist in the world as a white man. So everything that he's saying and doing, this is all like, honestly, performative ways of trying to express whiteness. Because if this was a white man doing this, this would be seen as like, this is how white people think. Like, I don't think there would be as much of an uproar, but because Kanye himself is Black, it's like, this has to be some level of self-hatred tied to it. But I think Kanye thinks that the access and resources he's been able to gain, money, has made him in some ways white. And that's actually like ultimate Uncle Tom. Is like Uncle Tom. Or you remember, I don't know if you've ever seen the Quentin Tarantino movie with where Sam Jackson, Django Unchained. Have you ever seen Django Unchained?
Oh yeah.
Where Sam Jackson's character literally thinks he's a white man and like tries to use the same powers, use the same language, use the same resources that his white owner does.
Yeah, even in Underground, what's his name, like Tito or something like that?
Cato,
Cato, yeah. So because of his proximity to whiteness, right? Because of, for example, like Cato, because he was like the second to the, what do you call it? I don't know what that guy's position was, but the guy, basically the guy who was like the field manager, I guess you can call it.
He was an overseer, wasn't he?
An overseer, yeah, that's what he was called. But he was, he had to tread lightly too because he was still Black. You know what I'm saying? Like it was interesting. If you guys have not watched Underground, it's on one of the, I think it's on like Hulu or something like that now. But really, 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 really good show. Definitely something that you should watch. So but yeah, definitely a problem. But what I don't understand about that is like you are still African American. It's clear as day. Like, you know what I mean? I don't understand how. I don't understand how you can think you something else. Like you don't look up in the mirror and every day and just see your Black skin. And the thing is, like, is that superficial for people who are like racist? You know what I mean? Or who are prejudiced against like a specific race or ethnicity, right? Is that it's just because your skin is brown? So, sir, I'm confused. You can see it clear as day. Nothing's changed.
I think honestly, he thinks like resources and money and status has like taken him out of the experience of Blackness, and you are never taken out of the experience of Blackness. You are a Black person with money and resources and power, but you are still a Black person. It doesn't matter.
So, Mr. Sir.
Like, I mean, I feel like Jay-Z has said this like publicly multiple times. Like, he still very much sees himself as a Black man.
Oh, yeah. How much money I mean, Jay-Z has also said that, like, even though he has X, Y, and Z amount of money, he still gets treated like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Or, like, you know what I mean?
He's still the Black man in the room.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm not understanding. Because nothing is different about Kanye versus Jay-Z. Like, Jay-Z would have more access, I would think.
Exactly.
So I'm just not understanding Kanye's really delusional nature. Because the man's not nothing for me.
I think it's interesting that we're really seeing this specifically with Black men. Like Black women we have never seen a Black woman sell out, or not even sell out, get this delusional publicly.
Well, there is that girl, Stacey. What's her name? Stacey
Dash. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll give it. Well, yeah. I don't count her totally because she is racially ambiguous. I'm talking about true blue, Black.
Baby girl, if you got 1% of Black in you, you're Black. Period.
I mean, she is. I'm not taking away her Blackness. What I'm saying is someone who walks in the world shows up as a Black person can't pass or enter white spaces the same way that someone like Stacey Dash can.
I guess.
I mean, that's okay. I guess what I'm thinking is like Oprah has never sold out. And how long has her career been?
Oh yeah, her career's been forever.
Decades long. Her career is older than our mother. I mean, not to like call Oprah old, but like, you know, Oprah's in the age category of our grandparents. So like, that's what I'm saying. And other public figures like Michelle Obama, she's the whole first lady of the U.S. Never sold out Blackness. Facts. You know what I mean? Like, there's all sorts of people who like achieve, all sorts of Black women who achieve wealth beyond measure, achieve status beyond measure, and they do not sell out the same way that we see Black men are willing and eager, in some instances, eager to sell out. And I guess it's because it's like they only have that, they feel like their maleness, they have that in common with white men. The only difference they feel like is their race.
Well.
And a lot of times, to be honest, when it comes down to like misogyny and whatever, and like other things, they align. A lot of Black men align perfectly with the way white men speak to each other and deal with each other. Because Kanye's behavior towards Kim Kardashian was very much excused by the male population, by white men too, because white men do the same thing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Fair.
I feel like because he only has one differentiating factor.
Yeah.
He feels
I think white people are more likely to be like, oh yeah, I guess you can be like in our crew as long as you have money, right?
As long as he checks every box but Black.
True.
To be honest, he's got the money, access, resources. He's dated one of the most, quote, beautiful women in the world, according to white society as well. Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. According to white society now, that ain't everybody's thoughts. But he's been, you know, in that realm. So he's had the women. He has the money. I mean, he's had the career.
Quite a bit, so that's fair.
Really, Kanye, like, if he could strip off Blackness from his physical body, he would.
Yeah, I think he would. I really do think he would.
Seriously. People were always like talking shit about Michael Jackson, but to be honest, like I feel like Michael Jackson was more Black than Kanye.
Oh, for sure.
Like Michael Jackson didn't bleach. Yeah. I mean, he might have bleached his skin, but like that's pretty much where he drew the line.
I think he did it for like a more of like a health appearance standpoint for like his own mental. It wasn't for the it was not for people, I don't think. I don't think he was trying to avoid being Black. I think it was really because he had to make a choice. So
yeah, and I get that. I'm not faulting. I'm not even talking ish about it. I'm just saying people acted like he was trying to like become white or something, and like Kanye's actions have clearly showed that he's trying to align himself more with whiteness than somebody like Michael Jackson ever was.
For sure.
To be honest.
For sure.
You know? I just find it so interesting. We thought like celebrities back in the day were like crazy, and now I'm like they've like leveled the ante up. Like celebrities are really wild now.
Baby girl, they ain't nothing. I'm like, but I think it was just bold for then because it was, you know,
it was new then, yeah. Because up until then, celebs stayed in their own houses and didn't like. It was like stay aloof, stay out of the public eye.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. Now it's like we're confronted with celebrity culture all the time. Like they're talking to us on the internet. You know?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, Kanye. It kills me that I mean, I guess I'm not technically surprised because of his other antics, but it just kills me the level of self-hatred. I think, to me, the biggest mental illness is this, like, and we've seen it with several Black men publicly who go out of their way to like assume whiteness as much as they can, especially when they have status. That to me itself is a mental psychological issue.
Yeah, I think also too, I think for me, if you want to self-destruct, that's fine. But here's the problem that I have. You have Black children.
Yeah.
Though they may have the Kardashian West name, first of all, you just tarnished your name. So there's that. Sure, they may have the Kardashian name, but that's only going to get you so far, right? Those kids are still seen as African American. So they're going to be seen differently than their mother.
Exactly.
So, not only are you digging a hole for yourself, you're digging it for your children who also now have to present as Black men and women at some point in their lives. So, it's kind of like at some point, I'm sure if he doesn't get the help that he needs and go about things in the correct way, they're really going to be doing damage control, I feel like, for a good portion.
Honestly, at this point, I do feel like he's a grown man, so he makes his own decisions, but I'm just like, who is honestly in charge of Kanye? And I'm not saying that from this, like, he needs to be infantilized or treated as a child, but like, who is like snatching him back and being like, you can't do this? You know what I mean?
I don't think anybody is. And I think, don't get me wrong, he probably has a team who wants to do that, but I mean, he's relentless. I mean, you've already seen he's had so much backlash for the things that he simply just said in some of his actions, and he just doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. So I think people are just kind of like hands off, like more than anything. Because I think also too, here's the thing: I think people would have given him more of a chance. However, he just does not stop. It's like, how much further can you go?
That's true. You're right.
So, and the thing is, people have given him chance after chance after chance. And he just, if you're not going to stop, it's like, I just have to cut my ties, which is, I think that's what the brands have come to is like, I think this was the straw that broke the camel's back because it was white people that was, the target. So of course people are going to go crazy about that. But I think also too, it's just like, how much more can you possibly deal with somebody and continue to protect them before your brand starts to suffer too? I will cut my ties too.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, Kanye, this is all around really bad for you. Like, and now it's affecting his financial status too, which is affecting his everything. That's affecting his livelihood, is everything. I mean, if he doesn't have the finances, he doesn't have the status. His music really isn't hitting on anything, and people have pretty much like canceled him, so people aren't even gonna want to listen to you probably ever again. So I'm like, Kanye,
you're just digging a hole.
I hope he's aware of like the magnitude of what he's doing, but you really can't say.
Yeah, a part of me just doesn't think he cares because he's just so. He's just. It's kind of like when you dig a hole, right? And you just keep digging it deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So he's just there, and I don't know if he'll be able to like recover this time.
I don't think so either, mainly because his anti-Semitic comments, which was really what broke the camel's back, which is another conversation, because why does it have to be tied to whiteness before we actually have any genuine concern about it? This is always I feel like this is always the progress. It's like somebody says something anti-Black, which is inflammatory, and everyone is like, or at least the Black community is like, cancel. And then they move to saying something anti-Semitic. And then it's like, everybody got to cancel now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I personally don't like that either because it's like he said so many hateful things about like Black and brown people. And that's what y'all want to fucking cancel. And now like, get out of here.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like people always cut the line at being anti-Semitic, which is weird to me because these conservative groups are non-Jewish, like have historically been anti-Semitic. Like anti-Jewish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all Protestant, very, evangelical type groups, right? So, which is anti-Semitic. But it's like any semblance of being like, Hitler is where they draw the line for some reason in America. Like, what is that arbitrary, like, marker of, hate crime? Is like,
seriously,
being anti-Semitic is like too much. I guess because Jewish people are closest to whiteness, and a lot of Jewish people have a financial stake in this nation. Seriously, they have a major financial stake in this nation. So,
money, honey.
So maybe that's just where they draw the line. Like he's stepping on a lot of toes who are Jewish. But
it's wild to me.
Yeah, it's just crazy because I'm like, everything else.
Yep.
Is like
permissible. I mean, personally, I think African Americans have canceled him a while ago. So, there's that.
Yeah. I feel like the order of things is always misogyny first, start with attacking women because they feel like that's always low-hanging fruit as far as, patriarchy is concerned. So he starts attacking women. That's Kim and harassing her. Then he makes anti-black comments. Okay. Then he ups the ante, like, all right, you're getting bad. Then it's anti-Semitic comments, and it's like, level 3, call in the National Guard, get rid of them, that's the really order of things. That's how I feel like people get canceled, That's why I always say, if somebody is a misogynist, there's a good chance they're a racist, they're anti, I don't know what the, noun for anti-Semitic person is, but they're anti-Semitic, and then they're just all around hateful. So that's why I'm big on, if somebody is a misogynist, there's a lot more to it. I think,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as clear cut as just saying, but I do think that there is a bigger problem, most likely. I don't think I've ever seen it where it didn't lead to maybe something else. So
something else, yeah. The ists, which is what I call them, the ists, the racist, misogynist, sexist, anti-Semitic, all that stuff. The ists, all the ists someone can be, are interconnected, because usually when you are that anti people who represent progress, you usually are very right-wing and very conservative. I never met somebody who was strictly misogynist but anti-racist. Usually they're both. You know what I mean? Or they don't think that they're a racist, but their behavior is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, have you met somebody who was strictly one or the other?
I can't say.
It's all rolled up into a personality type to me.
Nah, I can't say that.
An ideology.
I mean, I think it's warped in some type of warped ideology, but I can't say it's just strictly a character flaw either. I think there's a lack of first of all, I think there's a lack of understanding and lack of education. Most men are going to protect their men because they benefit from being a man. So of course they can support the ideology. Now, when the structure of life in society is no longer supporting them and them being the hierarchy, then I think they'll start, doing their due diligence. But that's what I'm saying. I can't really say for sure because I think the world is propped up for them to benefit. And so of course they're always going to benefit from that. They're not going to question it unless it's somebody that, really critically thinks or doesn't care about the hierarchy. But that's few and far between because they truly benefit from it. So,
yeah. Well, I think it is a character flaw to be a misogynist. That is a character flaw, or to be a racist. That's deeply ingrained problematic.
I agree. But that's what I think because that's my experience of it. If you have never experienced that, of course you don't think that's a big character flaw. If you benefit from somebody, your family having slaves, then of course you don't see it as a character flaw. You see it as a benefit to you, right?
I guess.
So, I mean, is it wrong? Sure. Okay. We all know right from wrong, but at what point are you willing to look over right from wrong? At some point, you're always willing to look over from right and wrong.
Yeah.
It just depends on what you as an individual are sacrificing. And it's like slavery, for example, you didn't have to sacrifice anything. You sacrificed other people's lives. So it wasn't on you. You didn't die. You got rich. So it was worth it to a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. Before we switch topics, let's see. This is a rundown of some of the stuff Kanye's lost. Apparently, he went on Fox News, Tucker Carlson, wrong, and wore a ultrasound photo around his neck, talking about pro-life, more black babies being aborted than born in New York City, false. 50% of Black deaths in America
Most
is
Black
abortion.
people don't have the access to that, so that's hilarious.
And then he said 50% of Black death in America is abortion. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh God, how ignorant. And the thing is, those stats are readily available, so come on, my guy.
And then he said,
please stop going to Fox News for your information, please.
Seriously. And then he said, Lizzo being overweight is genocide of the Black race. Why are you bringing this is something people also do that I think I really hate. They always bring Black women body shaming and bringing a Black woman into a conversation that she has nothing to do with. Lizzo was literally living her best life. Why is she brought up? Like, why seriously? That is something that, like, I've noticed that a lot of, like, these people, well, I'm gonna say specifically men, specifically Black men, and even, like, on comment sections and stuff on, like, TikTok and stuff, they always got to bring in a Black woman and criticize a Black woman as if, like, who's minding her business? Like, why do they always? That's something they always do. It really gets under my skin because I'm like, when, you know,
I feel like it's giving desperate for attention. So
yeah, it must be, because I'm like, to be honest, I'm like, and they feel like that's just something they can always throw out as like, haha, like they can always just use misogynoir or misogyny as like, we're better than this. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and that kills me. That kills me.
It definitely like reminds me of like a kid. You know how a kid's like, oh my God, Johnny did X, Y, and Z. Let me run to my mom and tell her. Like, ooh, yeah. Boo boo. Like, it's even real childish. Like, come on, Kanye. Leave Lizzo out of this. Lizzo is living her best life, her best body positive life she possibly can. You know what I mean? Why do you care about her weight so much? Why?
And who's to say that
her body is not affecting you at all?
And who's to say that like her body weight is like unhealthy for her? You don't even know that. You know what I mean?
For one, and for two, even if her body weight is uncomfortable for you or whoever, right? Which it shouldn't be. That is her business, period. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with you, Mr. Kanye. Mind your business and let her mind hers. Why do you need to speak on that? It has nothing to do with you. And first of all, it had nothing to do with what was going on. Nobody said anything to you when your mom was overweight.
Exactly.
So, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure his mom was not ideal. So, sir, come on now.
Yeah, I hate when people do that. They'll make a point about something else and then just bring a Black woman into it. You literally are sitting there minding your business. Yeah. That's a lot of times how Black women get brought into shit anyways. It's just like, you just be sitting there and they're like, oh, Black woman over there. Let's bring her. Like, what?
I really hope Donda is over there rolling her fucking grave because your son is a whole ass problem. I really hope
Kanye is showing like what a lot of Black women are actually dealing with in their own homes is like this sort of this like borderline self-hate personality issue or ideology issue. Like, oh, actually Kanye is not all that different from like conservative Southern Black men. To be honest, he's not all that different.
I hate giving Kanye my time because it's like, why? I really do.
Exactly. Oof. I mean, I think he's canceled for good now, but like, you know, he went on like Piers Morgan said, Joe Biden isn't effing R word.
Is that what Kanye said?
Yeah. Making anti-Semitic
so Trump, words. Buddy.
He's not on Instagram anymore, which he shouldn't be because he's definitely...
Who, Kanye's not?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
He called his bipolar disorder a superpower. It's not, buddy.
He needs some medication. And I'm not even that person that like promotes medication, but at the same time, like he's really unhinged at this point.
Yeah. Kim apparently said that being on medication is not really an option because it just changes who he is. In 2019,
mentally ill?
She said. I guess so. I guess it probably like really mellows him out. Like probably makes him a zombie. I mean,
well, yeah, I imagine that. But at the same time, like, I'm not saying that he has to be a zombie, but if it seems like he's very aware of his disorder. I think it's important for you to distinguish the difference between what's going on. I mean, maybe when he's not on medication, he's not understanding that it is like mental illness.
Apparently, she defended him back in 2020. Apparently, she said he's a brilliant but complicated person who, on top of the pressure of being an artist and a Black man, experienced a painful loss of his mother and has to deal with depression and isolation that is heightened by his mental illness.
I mean, I understand what she means by defending, like, you know, his mental illness and the struggles that he's having. I don't think she's defending his outburst or anything like that.
No,
I think
this was back in 2020 when I guess she was still with him.
I mean, as his partner in crime, like, you know, that is not her duty, but like, I see why she would do that.
She's definitely the person. If you're gonna be a Kanye type, she's probably the person to be with, I think, because I think the Kardashians, you know, she shouldn't have been harassed or treated poorly. I'm not defending his behavior on that end, but what I think though is the Kardashians aren't critical. Obviously, they exist and exploit the current system that we have. They use it really for all it can give them, and they benefit from it greatly. They're billionaires because of it. But I think they have this tendency, in my opinion, the same way we see with Khloe and Tristan, to like have this like faux compassion. I don't call it faux, but they have this like weird sense of empathy for people who are problematic. Like they see she calls him complicated, and like it's not just complicated. He's self-hating. That's not just complicated. You know what I mean? Like complicated waters it down.
No, because I think what she's trying to say is like it's complicated because there's more layers to the story that we may have insight on. So I think that's what she means by complicated. I don't think she means that like he doesn't genuinely have a problem. I think that the problem with that statement is very broad. So you don't know specifically what she's talking about. Him as a person, I would agree, it's probably complicated. So I see why she would say something like that. And there's a lot of things as the consumer of his content, we only get a glimpse of what is out there. We don't see his day-to-day life. We don't see him in isolation. We don't see him when he's having these meltdowns or his mental health like moments, right? We only see when he has an outburst like on social media or wearing the White Lives Matter shirt or X, Y, and Z. So I think we see the end result or like the big catalyst at the end of the mental break, right? And so that's why I just, part of me is like, oh, here we go again, Kanye. Like, okay, here we go again, right? However, the other part, you still have to be accountable in that, even though you may be having some type of mental health issue. So I just think he really needs some help. And the sad thing is nobody has successfully been able to provide that for him. Because I think a lot of this I think so too. But I think a lot of it also is because he's not able to get the help that he needs. And the thing is too, we're all suffering from, I think at some point, some type of mental something at some point in life, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not that people don't understand it or get it, but it's just how much are you willing to tolerate? And I think people are just done tolerating
it. Well, I think there's a danger in painting him as this misunderstood artist. He's intentional about what he's doing too. Like I think when you're an artist, you are putting something out there intentionally, and he has been intentional about other things. He intentionally put out Yeezys, which made him a lot of money. So I don't like this whole he's complicated and deals with pressure and like, because it's like I don't want to elicit empathy for somebody who's intentionally spewing hatred. Just don't.
I mean, I don't want to me personally, I'm going to be empathetic regardless whether you're spewing hatred or not, because that's just who I am, right? I'm not doing it because you did X, Y, and Z or vice versa, right? I do genuinely like wonder and like am concerned about his mental health. However, I cannot be more concerned than you. And I think that's why people get to the point where they're just like, you know what, I'm done. Which is why we're here where we're at now, is because it's like I can't be more concerned than you. In order to get help, you have to first want help, and he doesn't want help. So I mean, there's nothing else anybody can do for him. I think that's part of the reason why Kim left him. She was trying to advocate for him and be on his side, but he was constantly resisting that. So what more can you do? I'm not going to continue a fight that I cannot fight without your help. So. I don't think am I empathetic for him? Sure. Is he spewing out some reckless things? Absolutely. But I do think that there can be a better day when Kanye gets it together, when he seeks out some genuine help and he is I think for one, accountable, and for two, also just more aware of the things that he's putting out there. I think if he really sought out help and really had someone who was genuinely helping him, this would be a different conversation. I don't think these things will be out, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, as we round out this conversation on Kanye, I do think, I just had this thought. Is it me, or when Black men such as Kanye are trying to like prove that they fit in with like the white men, the Proud Boys, right? Like that conservative group of men, when they're trying to get access to white privilege in some ways and white power, they have to put on these exorbitant, massive displays, like of self-hatred, of dismissing their own community, of like downplaying their own community in ways that I feel like white men don't even have to. Because think of the pains Kanye went through to like try to prove his conservativeness or prove his alliance with like Trump and the Trump supporting group of people. He literally destroyed his own brand in an effort to become, I guess, closer to that ideology. And whereas white men don't have to don't do that. They don't destroy their own stuff trying to become white. I mean, they already are white, but like they don't destroy their own communities. They don't destroy their own families.
There's nothing to destroy.
I mean, I get that, but I'm saying that they don't have these. There's a display that I feel like Black men put on to, or I'm not gonna say just Black men, but Black people, because I guess you can consider Candace Owens. There's a display that Black people have to put on to like show their alliance. You know what I'm saying? I guess it's sort of like Django Unchained, like when the scene where like Calvin Candy obviously owns the whole thing, right? He's the white guy, Leonardo DiCaprio, but but Sam Jackson's character, like, literally is like acting out all these things for this man. He's putting on a display showing his, like, honestly, submissiveness and his alliance with his white master. It's a performance.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't even like the Kardashians, but I want to agree with Kim on this. It's a very, 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 very complicated situation. I think he's a very complicated person. And we really didn't start seeing these mental, and this is not an excuse, but we didn't really start seeing these mental health issues until his mother passed away, which he blatantly said pretty much that that attributed to a lot of his downfall mentally. So there's that.
I get that, but you got to get the help you need.
Agreed. And I think that's the problem that people are having. It's like, at what point do you stop being like that person's like bodyguard when they don't want the help, at some point there has to be accountability. Yeah. And like you said, I think that's what we're seeing now, that people are now holding him accountable for once, which is what he needs. I think that's the only way he can get it. Yeah. And I really think that's the only way he's going to truly get it is by people holding him accountable. So, exactly. While it's unfortunate in some instance, because he really is suffering from mental health issues, clearly. It's just, I think he also needs this. So,
yeah. Well, okay, speaking of another Black man that we know who has behaved in some similar ways, yelling or dismissing his own community, we have an update on the Courtney Tailor OnlyFans model turned murderer situation. Christian is, honestly, he's like a little Kanye. He takes a page right out of Kanye's book. And just saying all sorts of inflammatory things about Black women or whatever.
Yeah.
And
then he gets got by a white woman.
He gets got by a white woman because he ended up.
That's not funny because we don't promote anyone's like death or anything like that. But it is ironic and majorly ironic. So
massively ironic, honestly. I think Christian because he didn't have as much status, doesn't have the same level of like fame and like honestly sort of protection the same way that Kanye does. But I mean, they both exist. They're in the same club.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there was new audio released of Courtney Tailor yelling racial slurs at Christian. I guess they got into some sort of argument. We'll just recap it. But basically, they got into an argument after Christian like went out on a bike ride. It seems like from the audio.
Yeah.
And like,
is he being majorly insecure?
Oh yeah, huge insecurity. Like, went out on a bike ride. I guess stopped to talk to somebody who was a woman, and Courtney didn't like that, and so she came back and like went off on him, like, "Why are you talking to this girl? Give me your phone, give me your phone!" And yelling, calling him the N-word, hard R, the N-word.
Not the little R, the big R. So
big R, and Christian is like, rightfully so, like, why are you flipping out? Like, I just said I was just speaking to this person. There was nothing, like, you know, it is giving major insecurity. But what kills me is how they stay. To me, I think white people stay at the ready to yell the N-word at somebody. I think they
keep it in their back pocket.
They keep it in their back pocket as like a gotcha.
Yeah.
Like,
they really think they be doing something with that, but baby girl.
I mean, you're making yourself look racist.
But exactly. You make yourself look worse than you calling me that. I think black people are very like used to it at this point. So it's like,
yeah,
you may think you're doing something, but you're really not.
I think they all pretend to not say the N-word because they feel like it's like
they do.
But I feel like they all, in certain situations, probably would.
Oh, when it's convenient for them to use it, of course they're going to use it.
Yeah. So I just don't think this whole idea of like being post-racial and hearts and minds have changed is like
BS.
Yeah. Because I don't think they have. I mean, I think I've come across plenty of white people I feel like have not called me the N-word to my face, but have definitely said something behind my back where I couldn't hear. Sure. Yeah. Or have, you know what I mean? Especially coming from where we come from.
Oh, true.
I know them people at my last job, they called me the C word out loud, so I know they were saying the N word.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm pretty sure I've been called that a couple of times in my life. Have I heard it? No, but I'm sure. I like. There's no doubt in my mind.
So. Even just because like they just joke around and just like try to like say inflammatory things as like a quote joke or whatever. But
yeah,
honestly, I just try to strike the fear of God and be like, well, I can't control what you say around your other friends, non-black people, but around me, you need to fear repercussions. Okay.
Yeah. So what's the update? Well, I guess the update is her racial slurs.
Yeah. Well, they just have audio of it now.
Yeah.
There's just more audio and video coming out that they were in a very toxic relationship, but it looks more two-way street than a previously explained. Like I think she tried to make it sound like she was being abused. Yeah. But like we definitely see that she was also a part of it.
I was going to say, it sounds like to me, the stuff they have recently been releasing, I haven't seen anything of him initiating abuse. You know what I mean? Like I've seen him constantly defending himself. And this is not to say that he wasn't abusive because, there's different types of abuse. There's physical, mental, and emotional abuse, right? So he could have been any of those, right? However, nothing has shown that. So it's quite interesting to me that the narrative they are pushing is one that is not really backed up by much evidence. It's it's kind of sticky. So
I just think this has to be another. I don't know if you've seen the video.
I have.
Yeah, the video of her talking to the police. She's like in her Miami apartment building.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And she's like, he's gonna hurt me. And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's hard to believe her when you listen to that audio because you're like,
she's all over the place. Like nothing in that was. So like one minute he was abusing her and she wanted to press charges and she was like, no, I don't want to press charges because he didn't put his hands on me kind of thing. And then, and even like the people who were there, who called the cops in the first place, the people, I guess like at the desk or whatever, they were like, no, she is the one that initiates it. And this happens quite a bit. This is often, you know, a lot of people have a corroborated, Christian's narrative of her being abusive. So
yeah.
It's not looking good, Courtney.
I know. I honestly, I think she gives domestic violence victims a really bad name because she's making it sound. She's really. This is what men say women do, and I think that's partly true. I think there are cases where this does happen, where it's this back and forth, and then women, you know, cry crocodile tears, and then it's like, what is it, you know? But I think she's not helping, obviously, other women, and she's obviously not helping Black women, because she's just making this very. It feels very flip floppy, you know. Like, are you being abused or are you the abuser?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and it really looks like it's pointing more towards you're more of the abuser, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much evidence. There's her with the bike ride thing. There's her at the front desk, and she's like all over the place. There's people who have lived beside them or in the building, and they're like, she has always been the aggressor. There's also, I don't know if I said it, but the elevator video. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, the elevator video. I mean, and there's also the fact that she is the one who ended up killing somebody. She was the one with the blood on her hands.
And then the way the apparently her her not confession, but her like testimony or whatever, did not line up with the autopsy that the family paid for, because at first the police weren't going to do it. So the family had to end up requesting it, and I think they ended up paying for the autopsy. And the autopsy report proved that there was no way that she could have killed him without being in like close range. She says they were like yelling or discussing, and she like threw the knife, but they were saying there's no way. So
it's not looking good for her.
Yeah, not at all.
But I mean, if you murdered somebody, so I don't really know what the.
Yeah, but the thing is, what gets me is that she was going to get away with it. Like, what?
Oh no, she was actually going to use like white woman tears and weaponize.
Oh, for sure.
She was going to run with this narrative of like the abused woman, which is like, you hate to say it, but in our society, that's the one like shame tactic that women really have, is like battered, abused woman, male aggressor. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it only plays up the fact that he's Black and she's white. So
for sure.
And that's not to minimize, like, there are legitimate situations where white women are being abused by Black men, and like, and it's not some white woman tears. It's just straight up, this woman is being abused. You know what I mean? So I don't want to say every case is like that, but it feels in some way she's like weaponizing these. She's weaponizing like her gender and her race to
100%
get off on, like, she's obviously an aggressor. If she's not the only aggressor, she is a big part of it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I think there's overwhelming evidence.
And the thing is, like, even the thing and the reason why it kind of solidifies for me that I don't know if he's like the abuser. He could be doing like other types of abuse that you don't see. But one thing that got me was, even in the video in the elevator, right? He still did not try to hurt that girl. Not once.
Yeah.
Even when like you hear her like going in, he didn't even say anything. He was just like, "Oh, here, this is Courtney." You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He literally was trying to defend himself and just keep her off of him. But he wasn't like, he was shoving her enough to get him off of her, but he could have destroyed her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and not once did he do that. And that's not an excuse to say, because he could have been doing other forms of abuse. But that was a clear sign to me that like, she seems like she's probably the main aggressor for sure.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think honestly, my concern is like, as like for Christian, what level of self-hatred do you have to be on to like stay in this level of a toxic relationship with someone, like, just because they're white, because they're an OnlyFans model, like, because of what?
I don't know. I wonder if part of it is because I think a part of it is self-hatred, but I think also too, like, maybe nobody else wanted him. Because let's be honest, I'm not gonna lie. There's certain things that for like Black women will probably be by themselves, maybe go interracial, maybe go to homosexuality before they're dealing with a lot of things that some men are putting up with these days. Some women are willing to settle, but some are not, right? So I wonder if it was, maybe something to do with that, or it just. I think also too, like a lot of men look for a level of submissiveness, but she don't seem submissive to me, baby. So I don't know what he was talking about.
That's what I think is crazy. Is I'm like, okay, so really, I hate to say this, Christian gives me the vibes, just kind of looking at him and hearing him. He gives me the vibes that like it was like sort of he was like, I don't want to say pushed toward white women, but like Black women wouldn't have been checking for him anyways. Like he would not have been the type that like Black women would have resoundingly been like interested in. So like his as retaliation as like backlash, he was like, well, I don't like bash Black women and then like go with this white woman, which is like, that's your own internal situation. But like, I think honestly, I've come to the determination that the Black men who say those sorts of things are like the passport bros who are like, I'm gonna go like get a woman out of the country. The real reason they do that is because Black women weren't effing with you anyways. All right, you weren't the type that like that's why you are on this crusade, is because you were rejected. You weren't one of the ones that they wanted. It's not they didn't probably try,
Very true.
It's like nobody else would take you. And then until you end up with a white woman, okay. But like she's very toxic for you to the point of your own death.
Seriously. I just think it's ironic. Like, that's what you was going for, and look what you got, buddy. I know he rolling over his grave, child. Ooh.
It's giving Kanye, like they will cut off their nose to spite their face.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that phenomena is with, I guess because they feel like they have a certain level of mobility in our power structure because they are men. I don't know if that's how they feel, but it's just it's concerning because a lot of them do it. And we know ones in our personal life who do that.
Very true.
They're like, it's like they're committed to their own self-destruction in some weird way.
Yeah.
Rather than evolving, and really looking at things seriously, they like are committed to their own self-destruction.
They're really committed, huh?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that there aren't Black women who aren't committed. I met some Black women who are committed to their own self-destruction. Okay. But like, I just think we don't see it as often publicly coming out in so many public ways for Black women. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But, yeah, maybe, I guess.
I mean, just outright self-destruction. You know what I'm talking about? Like these sort of crazy stories that we see Kanye and Christian or whatever going through,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there are some Black women who have publicly self-destructed, but
yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, there definitely are some women, I'm sure, but.
Or you know what? I'm thinking it shows up differently. Like, okay, because we know about singers and songwriters who have self-destructed, like people like Whitney Houston or like Billie Holiday. Those are famous Black women who have clearly self-destructed and, but they end up hurting themselves, not other people. You know what I'm saying? Like they end up in some ways taking their own lives.
Yeah, I guess.
Because they were dealing with issues too.
But I was gonna say their self-destruction was not at the expense of anybody else. So
exactly, that's what I think makes it different. Is like, if Black women are self-destructing, a lot of times it's like internal issues handled internally, and we don't want to see them go, but they end up it's themselves. It's not this outward display, the same way like Kanye or Christians was in some ways.
Very true.
Which I read some study somewhere that said that women tend to internalize when they have mental health issues. They internalize and have internal issues versus men lash out when they have issues. And I've seen that to be true in my life, honestly.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
Like men I know who have been dealing with either mental health issues, anger issues, personality issues, is always lash out, attack someone or something else in the space as a way to, like, I guess, address their own mental health issues, concerns. Mm-hmm. Versus a lot of the women we know who have mental health issues or who have even self-esteem issues, is this internal self-destruction. So
yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, poor Christian. Sorry he had to lose his life in this, but first of all, there was a lot of red flags, buddy. So I'm not sure why. I mean, I get it. It's probably not that easy to just get up and move, but like, Mr. Sir, come on.
Well, I wonder if he felt like, oh well, I can like appease this person in this relationship. Like, I just honestly, I find so many Black man, white woman dynamics like interesting because I think it's so much of a power struggle grab. It's like, I'm not saying they all are. I'm not saying they all are, because I'm sure there are definitely genuine Black man, white woman situations. Okay, I'm not saying they're all like that, but I feel like I guess the ones we hear about, it's like it feels like they're in this like toxic race to like who's going to get the most power and privilege out of this situation. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like when I see them sometimes,
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. It's kind of sad. Ugh. I saw this thing too saying that that Courtney also had some issues back in Houston, and so they think that she was kind of like running from the issues back in Houston to Miami, and so that's kind of why they moved to Miami in the first place. But there was like a warrant out for her arrest in the first place for back in Houston for I think it was like public intoxication or something like that, or like disturbance of the peace or something like that. But something to do with like her constant use of alcohol and like not being able to handle herself appropriately when under the influence. So it seems to be a trend, and other people apparently have also come forward from her previous relationships, have said that she was definitely abusive. So
wow,
it's definitely given. This is nothing. She ain't new to this, baby. She true to
this. It's giving Johnny Depp and what's that lady, Amber
Heard? Oh
yeah,
Amber Heard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it is.
Actually, really giving that. And I think, I think there needs to be attention brought to the fact that men can be abused in these relationships. I think that's
for sure
a giant misnomer, and I think that's the truth. Men can be abused in relationships with women, because toxicity knows no gender. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And mental health knows no gender. So
honestly, toxicity knows no form, animal, being. Okay, because I got two toxic little bunny flips around here too. Toxic. When I tell you toxic, ooh, one over here sleeping right now, knocked out, leaning to the side.
Right.
Wait, he tired because he just destroyed my carpet. That's why he tired.
Wow.
He toxic. Now you want to take a nap? I should wake his ass up.
Looks like y'all need family therapy.
Clearly. We need animal therapy, and we need it now. ASAP.
But yeah, okay. So actually, speaking of intoxication, it's good to get into this next story. Because, speaking about intoxicated white women.
This one right here.
This University of Kentucky student, after becoming intoxicated, the video went viral on TikTok and just over the internet. After becoming intoxicated, a UK student, University of Kentucky, attacked a resident hall staff and called her racial slurs as the RA basically was trying to, calm her down, help her to get to her place of residence. I want to say this girl was a freshman. Was she not a freshman? Or maybe she's a senior. She might have been a senior. Regardless, she went off on her, calling her racial slurs. for somebody trying to help her. You know what she gives me the vibe of? These be the same white girls who be like, "Oh my God, yes, Black Queen, look at you, slay, honey child." Like these be the same white girls who come up to you and just do the most, trying to like prove they're like
their worth,
not like they're like not trying to like prove they're not racist. Like those be the same girls, but then like as soon as they get drunk, they call you the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
Like
while you're trying to help them.
While you're trying to help them, like
boy, bye. That's why I don't help nobody. Period. No, I'm just kidding. I do help people, but I be treading lightly. That's why I try to like just stay in my own lane. I couldn't be an RA because I would have been cussing that ass.
Yeah.
I applaud that girl. I really applaud her, which I know if she would have like put her hands on that girl, she obviously would have been looked at very differently. So I think she handled it appropriately. But if it was me, no. I
would have walked away from my station. I would have been like, I would have called the cops immediately, be like, somebody come get her, because honestly, like, I'm not gonna get in trouble for assaulting this girl. I want you to know what she's doing. She's continuing to come over here towards me, but I'm going in my room. I'm locking the door because I'm not gonna get attacked by somebody yelling racist slurs at me. Y'all come get her.
I really do applaud that girl, because like I said, it could not have been me. Like if you put your hands on me, I'm really not one to like immediately go to violence, right? For the most part. But don't come putting your hands on me. You really have lost your mind and you're going to make me lose mine. So let's not do that. But baby girl had the time because child.
But what is it about like drunk white women who do this stuff? I don't get it.
I don't know.
I guess drunk men do this stuff too, but like maybe we only see it.
Yeah. Maybe, but I think maybe drunk men know where to do it. Maybe that's the difference.
Yeah, you're right. Because white women
maybe with
like
their white friends, all over the place. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe like with their white friends they do it. Maybe they have a little bit more cognitive intellect while being under the influence or something. Because these white women,
it's like they just like get totally blackout or whatever, and then they like come back and wreak havoc. It's like their one time to wreak havoc. It's like when they're totally drunk and then they like get away with it.
Every time, you know, never fails.
And apparently, she told the police after she was like being handcuffed, arrested, she has lots of money and gets special treatment. That's what she told the police, and they reported. They put it on the report.
They should have. Congratulations to them. They should have. They definitely should have. Kudos.
She eventually ended up getting kicked out of school, I think. And I think she's facing like criminal charges. As like
she should, because she assaulted that girl.
Yeah.
And I really hope that black girl take it all the fucking way. Cause
exactly. I'd be like reparations.
She really needs to. Oh, for sure. Reparations for the people. If you come in here with that racist BS, you're gonna get kicked out. Period. Point blank. I really hope she takes it all, every last way she can possibly take it.
And this was on an overnight shift, so the RAs was already tired, like because they be up till like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. They gotta stay up all night, like waiting, basically making sure the residents get in safely, and they know they have to deal with these drunk kids coming in.
The thing is, like, I feel like this wasn't her first rodeo, so I applaud her once again for that.
I'm sure she hasn't.
Baby girl,
she gets a gold star for RA training
for sure. And the thing is, she probably didn't get that in training. Let's be honest, but she definitely handled that better than I could have ever.
That's wild. No, I remember. I remember college days. I never went out and did any of that because, first off, they were going to like the white, why? But second off, they were going to like the white frat parties where like they were going to probably be racist at the door anyways because they didn't let black women in or black people in. They're very harsh, cruel, and racist at those frats. Like they literally just look at women and are like, "You can get in or you can't get in, or you're too fat, you're black." You know what I'm saying? They say that stuff to people at the door, so they're racist. And every kind of other ist at those frat parties. But so I never did that, and I was not going to subject myself to that. But I would see the girls rolling in, and I would just be like, "Why do y'all do this every week?" Because half of y'all was like going to these frat parties and getting sexually assaulted. So I was like, "Why do y'all do this?" Talk about that. Yeah, and then don't get me wrong, we would always have things like Her Campus was something at Wake where it was like a support group that actually got quite a bit of funding to support things like sexual assault. And I'm not saying that didn't happen. That group needed to exist, and I tried to support it where I could. But it was always always interesting to me because I was like, her campus is out here fighting the good fight. And y'all line up every Saturday to like go to the said frat party where Josh doesn't understand consent. Like, I don't get that.
I mean, I agree, but I do think that like I'm not an advocate of just because Josh is known to rape people. Me personally, I would not go. But why should you stop going? It's more like Josh needs to control himself, or y'all need to get Josh out.
I agree with that too.
I think maybe that's the stance that they're taking is, this is not a me problem. This is a Josh problem, yes, which I could 100% agree. Don't get me wrong. However, would I continue to put myself back in that position? Absolutely not.
Exactly. And that was always my thought is, yes, Josh is the problem. Sexual assault is the problem. These issues are the problem. I'm not saying that doesn't need to be addressed. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to point a gun at me 2, 3, 4 times for me to get it. You are the problem. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I'm not gonna go sit around. I'm not gonna go sit around this group of people if I know this group of people is dangerous for me. That's why I never went out. I knew the group of people was dangerous for me. And I'm not trying to victim blame. What I'm saying is, I always framed it as I'm interested in my own self-protection first and foremost. So that comes before, any social groups, any social outings, any reputation, anything. I'm interested in being protected. I want to walk free from this campus, not having been assaulted, not having, had these issues come up.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not saying don't go out and have a good time. But what I'm saying is, like, know where you're having a good time. That's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming the victims. Yeah, because the perpetrator is the person acting, and they need to be held fully accountable.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to put myself in a perpetrator's presence. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to look past perpetrator's status and hope the perpetrator is not a perpetrator, because that's sort of how I looked at it. It was like, when I go into these situations with these people. And it's not even, and sometimes you don't know that they're a perpetrator, because that's happened to me too. Like, people I didn't know was creeps. You know what I mean? But like
well, that seems like that's an everyday story.
I mean, it is an everyday story. So, and things happen like that too. But I'm saying is, like, to me, I know for a fact that ain't nothing good coming out of them frat parties. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Really, 9 times out of 10, especially for a Black person, a Black woman. So I'm not gonna go sit around something I know is dangerous for me, And I saw people do that all the time, and I guess it was for clout, maybe for whatever they were trying to get. But I just thought it was always really interesting to me, because I was like, I would never personally, and I'm not trying to sound self-righteous, but I just would never, I'm not going to go sit in a dangerous situation. I'm not going to do it and expect the person who is dangerous to be better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You have to not lower your expectations, but meet your expectation. Your expectations just have to be realistic.
Yeah.
You go to a frat party, you should never ever be touched or do anything inappropriate. But I do think that, like, you also have to be aware of that risk, because people are, first of all, intoxicated, maybe on drugs, maybe on this and that and the other, right? And people are just, that they think that's that's the perfect place to do it, really, and it's an excuse to do it there, at that specific place.
And they're reckless at that point. They're pretty reckless.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. I never wanted to put the responsibility of my safety in somebody else's hands. Like, I felt like that's how they kind of preached it at school, was, preaching to the men, don't rape, and then to the women, don't be raped, right? But like, I feel like what really needs to happen. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. First off, remove the rapist, but second off, it's like, okay, don't put your personal safety in somebody else's hand. Don't expect this person to just have some great awakening if they've already proven they're bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think sometimes it was just like, it appeared to me, I'm not gonna say all, but it appeared to me sometimes that it was like they were expecting these frats or these dudes to like become evolved somehow suddenly or something.
Just and it was like just
because they had a talking to or something, and they knew the severity of the repercussions of their actions. But like, I'm never gonna assume that
really.
that
you have
Jake,
a conversation does not.
Yeah, Jake is not more interested in my life and my well being than Courtney is. You know what I'm saying? They're never more interested. So I just stayed away from it. But I guess people didn't think about it that way. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't want to sound like a victim blamer. I hope I don't sound like a victim blamer because I'm not. I'm just saying, like.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying because it's not, while it's not the victim's fault, it also is the victim has to be also aware of the actions that they're
Don't
taking.
walk into the fire. That's part of it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's a different story when you don't know it's a fire. It looks like it's, calm, cool, collected, and then suddenly it's a fire. Because that also happens a lot of times, and that needs to be reprimanded. But, if I know it's a fire, I'm not going to step into the fire. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure.
But anyway, but back to her. She, I'm glad she's facing assault charges, honestly, because I think sometimes schools just sort of like brush it under. Yeah, they just brush it under the rug as like, oh, this one incident, or like just don't talk about so and so, and it's like, no, the first thing
if it was the other way around, it would not have been brushed under.
Exactly. So we actually, surprisingly enough, we had something like this happen at Wig, and the student actually did end up getting expelled. I don't know if there were any assault charges, but there was a video that went around of her. She was drunk on some Saturday night, which was like typical, and she was going around saying the N-word, like betting friends and stuff about like saying the N-word or something. And the video got reported to our like, there was some little, it wasn't a secret, but it was like diversity inclusion officer or something, or like some office at Wake that it got reported to, and it was anonymous, and they got rid of the student. But I think it was more to save face for the university, because I think I don't know if it was just because she was racist and said the N-word. I think it was because they didn't want to look like they're housing racist students, which is
what they're doing.
Sort of a cop out. Yeah, I'm like, because for that one girl, it's 20 of them. There. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know they're there.
Didn't say it. Yeah,
that's wild. I don't remember anything like that happening where I went to school, so
that's sort of a shock because I feel like you're very conservative.
Yeah, but I also very much like stayed to myself. Did not like, which I know they probably did because we're on a good old South, baby. Okay, not that you weren't either, but I feel like your school was a little bit more urban. You had people coming from different walks of life that had a level of privilege, right? Versus I went to school in Charleston, South Carolina, and so that's like a slave town. Period. Okay.
Which would make it seem more obvious.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't doubt that it ever happened. I do not doubt that it ever happened. I never personally heard about it. But the thing about the church though is they're like, oh, like, keep it hush hush, like very. I think at your school there's a level of privilege, so she thought she probably could get away with it. Versus at my school, they probably did it with their lovely white Christian minister friend. But there's probably less of the likelihood of them getting away with it.
Yeah.
So I think also too, there's like this white God complex that they have too, of like, oh, well, I can repent and save the day, or like I'm holier than thou, so I would never be racist. But we all know how that works. So.
Yeah. Wig was definitely about money, power, privilege, and I didn't realize. I thought I wasn't intimidated stepping into that environment because we grew up in Lexington, so the kids
at Lexington's like that though.
Yeah, Lexington. The culture at Lexington was almost identical. The kids at Wig had more money and more like celebrities and their kids there. Like Brooke Shields' daughter goes there now, so like it's a little more noted. But other than that,
who's Brooke Shields?
It's Brooke Shields, the actress from like the 80s.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
She's really famous. Look her up. You know who Brooke Shields is. Anyways, but she was a really famous actress. But her daughter goes there now. I didn't go to school with her because obviously her daughter is younger than me. But So yeah, like famous people like send their kids there, or whatever. And so there's a lot of money there, which keeps them very firmly out of touch with reality. And, you know, I'm going into it like just being me, coming from where I come from, which is not money. But but I didn't see myself as any different. I was like, shit, I got in. You know what I mean? Like I got in just like these other kids get in. Yeah. And a lot of times, like a lot of those kids were struggling with school, and you could always tell the kids who like halfway paid to get in because the people who really got in on academics were not struggling like that. But the people who had other methods of admission, we'll say that.
Illegal.
Had other methods of admission. Speaking of, Wake was also in that like the whole college scandal, you know, with Lori Loughlin. Wake was one of the schools
they
in
were
that
in
college.
That?
Yes.
Whoa, the tea. I did not know that.
Yes, and it was with. This is so ironic because you know how much I played volleyball, and I tried to like get onto the Wake volleyball team. The volleyball team was doing that.
Ooh,
I know, and it came out. It was my senior year, and all of that came out with the Lori Loughlin scandal. We were in our dorms, and I remember getting emails about it. But yeah, the volleyball coach, what they were doing is they were putting certain girls on the team. They were saying certain girls were on the team, being recruited on the volleyball team, and they were obviously not playing the sport. They were admitted as an athlete, which means you don't have to have the same level of like academic standard, unfortunately. And that's not to say that the athletes at Wake weren't intelligent, because I actually knew some of the athletes who were very intelligent and could have gotten into Wake. Forget athletics. But yeah, it was the volleyball coach. It was like the volleyball team was one of the main teams doing that. Yeah, the volleyball team coach got fired. And another thing too that also happened with the Wake volleyball team, and I'm glad I didn't like pursue Wake's volleyball team further, because one of the male volleyball coaches was also like in trouble for like harassing student volleyball players.
Like sexually?
Yeah. Was like indicated. Yeah. So I was like, and he would have been the person I would have been playing under if I would have been actually like on the team, even as a walk-on. Yeah, so their volleyball team has a lot of scandals. Yeah, Wake was part of the college admission scandal. It was because, remember, like Lori Loughlin and them in USC, which is out in California, they obviously got the biggest headlines because she's so famous. But the other colleges were included in that, and Wake was one of them, which doesn't surprise me because Wake is so like small and elitist, and it's so much money to be there that they're always constantly looking for money, always looking for donations. So why wouldn't they take donations from like parents to get their kids in, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that school is expensive, so I'm sure they're looking for any little thing.
And you have to have the academic rigor to be admitted. If you're going to be admitted and not have to pay, which, you know, I didn't have to really pay too much besides a couple of student loans, but like you have to have the academic standard, and a good bit of them don't. We'll just say that. Because, I mean, the thing about college is like you should have a foundation. You shouldn't be necessarily struggling too much through college level courses, right? You know?
Hypothetically.
But there were a lot of people who were. We'll just say that.
See that.
You know? And I was like, you know, I was like, shit, maybe I should apply to Harvard or some other school, because I'm not saying it was like easy to get through Wake, but like I was like, maybe I should explore other options.
You also were in IB, so I feel like that's a very different setup.
I mean, it is a different setup. I know, but I'm just saying, like, it was because I was thinking most people were going to come from like an IB type background, and not everybody was.
Oh no, most people ain't, baby girl. Most people ain't got that type of background at all.
Yeah, but I'm saying though that like that's what Wake kind of sells themselves as. But
I can see that.
You got enough money. I mean, there was one kid I remember, he was in the theater department, and I think he got in. I don't think he got in because he didn't have like money, but his last name, it took me the longest time. I didn't realize this, but his last name was on the side of a building at Wake. It was on the new building that they bought. His last name, his parents had donated that building.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he was in the theater department. He was very low key, but like I was just like, oh, it like
They got
and
money.
someone told me, and I was like, hold on. And it was like because the place, I don't want to say the person's last name, but like the place was called the Center, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, but that's so and so. And someone was like, yeah, because their parents like donated. And I was like, oh,
yeah, boo.
Makes sense.
If y'all need to donate, my bank account number is
exactly.
Mr. Sir, y'all don't even know my buildings around here. Come on.
It kills me.
What kind of building was it? Was it a theater building?
No, it was a big sports complex. Like, and they put some money into it. There was a lot of money because they were spent a long time. They built it over the course of like my freshman through my like sophomore to maybe junior year. It ended up being done.
So they got money.
But they donated enough to have their name on the side of the building. So they must have donated a good bit of money.
No, for sure. I'm sure that was the main donator. That's usually how that works.
It's just interesting because it's so interesting when you're like around so many people who are so wealthy because you realize first off that they're not that different from you. Like a lot of times they really be struggling in some ways that you're sitting there like, that's what y'all really are struggling with? Because like down here at normal people status, we don't really have time for that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was just interesting. But yeah, so I think it's funny. This back to the UK students. Sorry, we got on a diatribe about Wake and spilling the tea on Wake Forest, and it was like honestly, like every 6 months there was a scandal at Wake. I'm not joking. I was like, this school costs all this money for us to just have like scandal after scandal after scandal. Yeah,
that's crazy.
And it would we always knew the scandal was true when the president would email and have this like long message of like, that's not who we are as an institution.
That's confirmation every time.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Exactly. Because there was a scandal about one of the admissions lady being racist. Like they found some racist photos of her back in the day, like doing some stuff. That was another scandal.
And I was the way the internet can find some stuff. I love it.
Yeah. I was like, wow. It was like scandal after scandal at Wake, to be honest. And honestly, it was sort of like you just wait for your 6 months update on like what's new in the
what's going on
in the like admissions building. I was like, let me get my classes and get up out of here because
right, seriously. Yeah, that was me in my college. Like, let me just keep my head low and get on through because this is not it. This is not it.
Exactly. Yeah. It was crazy though, but I mean, interesting times.
Seriously.
Times. I wish I would have recorded more of my experience at college because I think it'd be interesting to watch it back now.
I really don't. I'm glad I just made it through because, child. I would hate to say the school was ghetto, but it was not giving what I was used to. I can tell you that. That's how I come from bougie old Lexington, child. CSU was not giving bougie.
It was not giving bougie
at all. It was not giving much of anything, really. It was giving the Jesus. Lord. The thing, here's the thing. So, okay, so I accepted my my like offer letter to CSU just because I was like the first cool school. So let me take you through the application process. My application process was any place that Courtney was not applying to. Courtney was like, you have South Carolina, I got North Carolina. I was like, cool. So I applied to like all the places in South Carolina. The first letter I got was CSU. So I was like, I'm going to CSU. I didn't do no research, no nothing. I pop up on the first day and I feel like, I think it was like a little orientation, but it was right before like we had to go to school for that semester. And I learned that the whole thing is a Christian school. And I was like, we ain't much of those types of people. So we go when we go, we don't when we don't, which is the majority of the time. But when I tell you I was shooketh, I was like, whoa, this is not what I signed up for. When I learned about them chapels, I was like, I'm not going. Not going. But by the end of that fifth year, I was like, let me like run to every chapel. I had to like make up because those first couple of years I didn't go at all. So I had to like make up. It was, Jesus. It was giving a lot.
I remember like us talking about you and like, I'm in chapel.
Yeah. They used to make fun of me which I used to make fun of it too because I was like, why? Like some of those chapters were good sometimes, but and I'm talking about the ones where they weren't like doing the most. But Lord Jesus, I wish I would have made a different choice. That's one. If I had to say I regret anything in life, that would be what I regret. But I got a degree now, so whatever.
Where else would you have gone? What do you think?
I don't even know. I don't know what I would have. I really wish I would have did something with like computer science, or maybe if I would have did something with like accounting or something like that. Like, because I really enjoy doing like financial stuff. I really enjoy doing that. So I would, not saying that I don't mind doing, because I do like the medical world of things. And I think public health is very interesting. Do I want to, like, career wise, longevity wise, I don't really see it. So we'll see. But nonetheless, I'm here now, so working in clinical research, so it works,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know where I would have gone. Like, I think I would have probably explored some more like out of state options. I probably wouldn't have stayed in South Carolina for sure.
Oh yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I wish I actually would have just bit the bullet, applied to UCLA and really just, or USC or something. Yeah. And just been like, forget what mom says, I wish I would have had more of that gumption then, a little bit more. Cause I think I was really limiting myself to like, okay, well, let me find the best schools in a 5-hour radius. And I think that limits you.
I think you're making it convenient for everybody.
Yeah, I was making it convenient because
I get that, but
yeah, I applied to Wake, Duke. I applied to FSU. I applied to.
Did you get into Florida State?
Yeah, I got into Florida State. I didn't.
Why didn't you go to Florida State?
Because I didn't want to go to Florida State.
Really?
Not really. I mean, I heard that their film program was like pretty good, but I didn't know so much about FSU, and it was a bigger school. FSU is a pretty big school.
Yeah, it's bigger than what we went to.
Yeah,
heck, Wake is like huge in comparison to CSU. So
yeah, really, I wanted to go to Duke, but I didn't get into Duke. So I was like, I got into Wake. Wake was the next best option.
Do they have a film program?
I don't really think Duke has a film program like that either. So like, Wake really didn't have a film program either. They had film studies. Really, my best bet was the fact that Shelby and I pretty much made Wake TV like a little mini film program in a lot of ways, which was actually, that ended up being more useful because that's more what the real world is like, independent filmmaking. But I wish I would have applied. I wish I would have just bit the bullet, applied to USC. I didn't even apply to UCLA or USC or like even some Northeastern colleges. I think I should have probably looked into. I really should have applied. I
definitely wish I would have put more effort into it. I did, I definitely, like, while I like slightly regret it, it's also like you get what you give. So, can't be mad about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah. So guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode.
Yeah.
We had a great chat about essentially racist.
Yeah. Just public displays. Really like public displays of self-hate and like racism.
Yeah.
So,
racism. So yeah, this is kind of like an update kind of episode with Courtney Tailor and adding a little like notes of Kanye, because that's kind of an update to another outlash. And then adding that UK student, and this is not UK as in British, this is University of Kentucky. So
yeah.
So yeah, thank you for joining us.
Stories.
Oh yeah, tangents about life.
Yes.
We love those.
Exactly. It has a little razzle dazzle.
Yeah, a little plot twist.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys for listening. We had a good time as always. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Bye guys.
Bye.